One of Magick's most peculiar aspects is the arbitrary nature of its rituals and preparations. Often in Magick, one must prepare strange, seemingly useless herbs, say certain incantations in just the right way when the moon is just right, while staring down at symbols that look like they came from an Etch-a-Sketch or something. Now clearly, these strange procedures have only nominal effect on our reality in and of themselves. The incense rises and fades, the sound waves created by the incantations expand a short while and disappear, and as for the symbols, just carvings. Who chooses these rules? And by what force is our will executed if the recipe is followed? Well, it's safe to say that these rituals aren't for us, since our deepest desires came before the ritual. And if these rituals aren't for our sake, then it isn't by our energy that executes the various commands in witchcraft. It's like someone looking over your shoulder, waiting for you to do just the right thing at just the right times, and then executing your wishes. Beings force themselves to execute the will of those with these special symbols and special chants? Or has this servitude been forced upon them? One struggles to envision any sentient being enforcing against themselves. Do they choose to be chained to these symbols and preparations? Would they choose otherwise?
But oh, to be free. Not to have to go, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? To be my
And indeed, even the most benign exorcisms of the Christian, Catholic, and Islamic churches is still just magic. There's nothing special about the sound waves produced during these prayers that forces a demon from his host, so some other force must lie in wait, waiting for the correct words to be uttered, so that he may drive away the malevolent spirit. But who or what is this other entity? And is it the same entity who enforces their compliance in black magic? When looking for the Illuminati's answers to these questions, one of the first books to emerge on radar is the Necronomicon.
Now, Abdul will read from the Necronomicon.
Azak, Gazuri, Galaneth, Maledictu, Nosferamus, and Principe.
For within the pages of the Necronomicon lie the very secrets of the universe, both past and future.
Many authors have written a Necronomicon of their own, but the original was written by an Arab named Abdul al-Hazred, and was later translated by Dr. John Dee in the 16th century. Many know John Dee as the founder of the British Secret Service and the original 007, signing his memos to Queen Elizabeth with 007, who was both her spy and her astrologer. Abdul al-Hazred, the writer of the first Necronomicon, was said to have written it in the 8th century, at the age of 76, just before his death in Damascus. One of the most interesting things about John Dee's translation, as opposed to the other versions of the Necronomicon, or any other books about black magic you'll find out there, is the apologetic tone it's written in. Abdul al-Hazred hated the demons who enlightened him, feared for his body, and feared for his eternal soul even more, and hated his deeds upon the earth, and stated such many times throughout the text. The universe described by this deepest of deep insiders came straight out of the Matrix. A world where the soul and the body can part, and the soul can travel the universe while the body waits idle, and if either body dies while you're plugged into the Matrix, you're gone. A world where beings just outside of our sight feed off the etheric energy of man, a world full of beings who live not in the spaces known to man, but in the angles and spaces between. Beings called Maskim, who scavenge, ready to drag away the souls of the dead. Beings who live in timeless kingdoms beneath the earth and seas, and even beings among us, in human disguise. The Necronomicon also tells the tale of a spiritual battle, a tale where dark gods, called the Ancient Ones, or Old Ones, are cast from heaven to the darkest place in the universe, called the Agigi. There they long brood for a revenge against the stars of heaven for a battle long lost, and ever await a celestial event. And when the stars are right, Cthulhu their priest, and adds suspicious death. Abdul al-Hazred himself is said to have died in the streets of Damascus after being torn to pieces by invisible beings. Al-Hazred claims that the arcane and ancient knowledge you're about to learn has been forgotten by all except the worshippers of the Ancient Ones, or the demons. What you're about to hear are the secret teachings of the Illuminati. An easy way to think of extra dimensions and the beings that reside in them is birds and humans. Because of gravity, humans are subject to a two-dimensional surface, bound to the surface of a fabric. A wall, 12 feet high or more, can block his way. A bird, on the other hand, would not be bound by a 12-foot wall, or even a 30-foot wall. A bird would have to be contained in an additional way, and having access to the third dimension, so must their cage be three-dimensional. Now if you were to attempt to attack a bird who is, say, pecking the ground for worms, he would be within your grasp and forever in potential danger as long as he is within 12 feet of the ground. Now there's nothing special about the air above your head, and the 12 feet to the left and the right is no different than 12 feet straight up. They can both be easily measured in the same units and contain the same combination of gases. So what's different about 12 feet straight up? You don't have access to that dimension. Now there's nothing mystical about the current location of the bird, and there's nothing mystifying about the direction he just moved, and there's certainly nothing mysterious about a bird itself, aside from the surviving the things they eat. It has the same needs and similar vulnerabilities. Its parts are what you would call material, or quote-unquote real. This is a very easy way of thinking about ghosts and demons. The reason you can't trap a ghost in a particular room, or even in the house, is the very same reason you can't contain a bird in a prison yard. Having access to that extra dimension, the ghost will simply quote-unquote fly over the walls of your home, but from your perspective, appearing to walk right through them. So why do we lose track of a ghost when it flies in the direction that we can't move? The direction the ghost is moving is the direction that we call time. With access to the time dimension, even the thickest stone wall can be walked over as if it were an infinitely thin object, like a sheet of paper. Three-dimensional objects existing in a four-dimensional universe will, whether perceivably or not, be infinitely thin on one side. So the beings vanish, like a submarine vanishes from those on boats as the submarine begins to move in the direction that the boat cannot. And there's nothing mystical about a submarine either. But this lofty viewpoint in the time dimension may have another effect, the perception of simultaneity. Imagine a man walking in the woods and a bird flying 500 feet above him. Now there's a lake a mile away. The man can't see it, and so by consequence, the lake is 20 minutes in his future. But the bird can already see the lake, so what is in that man's future is already part of the bird's present. Equally, things and places that the man thinks are in his past are simply a glance away for the bird. Although it has a good view of things that will be crossing your path by seeing what's heading in your direction, there's no real way for the bird to know exactly what awaits you at the lake. Also, events that are happening at distant places can be witnessed at the same time by the bird. Now a bird isn't smarter than you, it just has a better view and access to that extra dimension. And that's how you should think of these beings. They are varying intelligence, but do not believe that their abilities reflect their intelligence nor their moral nature. Similar to the tradition of the Hebrew Kabbalah, the Necronomicon speaks of multiple layers of reality. Similar to Einstein's view of the universe as four-dimensional spheres, the Necronomicon also refers to them as spheres, where there are parallel universes in layers below and above us, and these universes are called spheres. Each of these extra dimensions may be accessed through a gate, and this gate is created during the ritual. The Necronomicon speaks of 7 spheres outside of our own and a gate to enter each of them. You must access gates in their proper order. For instance, you may not meet the sun god who resides in the 4th sphere until you've passed the 3rd gate, which belongs to Inanna, aka Ishtar. Each sphere is ruled by a different god, and you must open the gates in the correct sequence. The structure of the universe laid down by the Kabbalah is a tradition that suggests that the universe actually has separate universes, and these are called Sephirah. The Kabbalah teaches that the whole universe is based on balance, and that every particle in the material world has a counterpart in heaven. Kabbalists also believe that God has made previous universes, but those universes failed. The Necronomicon speaks of 9 gates total. The first 7 are part of what's called the inner world, while the last 2 are part of what's called the outer, where the darkest of the dark entities live. In the movie The 9 Gates with Johnny Depp, a book called The 9 Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows includes instructions for the first 8 gates of the passage. The correct ritual to pass the 9th gate, however, is cryptically hidden in not 1, but 3 books. In the beginning of the movie, the viewer finds themselves going down a dark path, passing 9 gates as the pre-film credits roll, and, as you approach the 9th gate, you walk into illumination. In the movie, the book The 9 Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows was based on another fictional text called the Delomenonomicon.
While studying the black arts in Prague, he acquired a copy of the dread Delomelanicon. This is Tolkien's adaptation of that work, which was written by Lucifer himself. After they burned him at the stake, a secret society was founded to perpetuate its memory and preserve its secrets.
Delomenonomicon sounds a lot like the Necronomicon, and, just like in the movie, Abdul al-Hazred is conspicuously vague about the details of the 9th gate. It's quite clear that the book from the movie, The 9th Gate, The 9 Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows, is actually a reference to the Necronomicon. Al-Hazred hints that these beings we call demons, who live outside the mortal world, exist in strange time.
As long as we get you home before it's midnight in the mortal world. But that's only 2 hours from now.
Well, don't panic, dear. You see, time works differently in Halloween Town. 2 hours there might be 2 days here, or 2 weeks if we're on vacation.
He states that the spirits live in an extra dimension that is wrapped inside every point in space.
Beyond the gate dwell now the old ones, not in the spaces known unto men, but in the angles betwixt them.
You're a prisoner? It's all part and parcel the whole genie gig.
Phenomenal cosmic powers!
Itty bitty living space.
Oh,
The worst demons have been banished to a place called the Agigi, a place where, with their leader Azagthoth, they wait for a celestial event that heralds their coming. For a wizard to venture forth into the pit in safety, he must first sell his soul and remove his name from the stars. These beings, called the Ancient Ones, did incredible evils on the earth, and were cast to the Agigi by the Elder Lords Enki, Anu, Enlil, and Marduk. The Necronomicon speaks of these spheres as if they are wandering. It leads on to the fact that when the fabric of two spheres touches, the beings and objects in those parts of the two universes can interact during this time. If these collisions are rhythmic, it may explain why certain beings can only be invoked on certain nights. Perhaps even the moon's weight may press upon the fabric of space-time, further closing the distance between our plane of existence and another. The Necronomicon's Ladder of Lights, with it, or Jacob's Ladder from the Bible, cooking of crushed morning glory seeds in wood alcohol for 2 days, removing the mush created and allowing the residual fluid to evaporate, leaving behind a yellowish resin. The mush removed earlier should then be re-soaked, strained out again, and the resulting mixture allowed to evaporate, as was done before. He suggests that only 30 grams of this compound is enough to provide astral flight for the body. The Necronomicon is a real grab bag of mythologies. Biblical, Babylonian, and Islamic symbolism and concepts are all drawn from freely, but the Necronomicon's main parallels are Kabbalistic and Sumerian. The gods, for the most part, are referred to in their Sumerian names. First, the bad gods. Now the Necronomicon doesn't always speak in a black and white manner regarding the morality of a certain character, god, or race, but for the most part, it does. Alhazred never fails to mention when a certain god, demon, watcher, or race is hostile to mankind, and will give warnings proportional to the old ones. At the center of all infinity, the center of the universe, he dwells with his multitudes. He is the Lord of Chaos, and once he is invoked, he is virtually impossible to put back in his lamp. Alhazred warns against the summoning of this god. When the stars are in their correct places, and when our sphere nears Agigi, Azagthoth will lead the old ones out of the abyss. This prophetic event has been witnessed in countless movies. Its parallel in the book of Revelation is when the bottomless pit is opened, and Apollo and his hordes of locusts ascend from the abyss and come to earth. In Revelation chapter 9, verse 1, we read, "And I saw a star fall from heaven to the earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. He opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened with the smoke of the shaft. Then from the smoke came locusts on the earth, and they were given power like the power of scorpions of the earth, and they were told not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing that groweth, or any tree." In movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still, you have a horde of insects who go about devouring all that is man-made, while leaving every green thing untouched. This is Azagthoth and his horde. Nyarlathotep was created as the messenger of the Ancient Ones. He is said to be a go-between for humans and the abyss's most foul gods. He is described as a shapeshifter with unspeakable darkness in his heart and countless faces. His most common nicknames are Lord of the Wood and the Creeping Chaos. For those of you who have seen Hollywood Insiders, full disclosure, you're familiar with the Joker character Asmodeus and his role as the go-between. Repeatedly, Nyarlathotep is associated with chaos. This is, I suspect, Nyarlathotep.
Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. Oh, and you know the thing about chaos? It's fear.
Next we have Kingu, the military commander of the demonic hordes. Humans are said to have been made from his blood, and from this comes the hole in man's heart, humanity's rebellious, demonic nature. It is due to humanity's demonic bloodline that we may wield authority over the demonic forces that led Tiamat has many servants among mankind. And finally, we have Ereshkigal. Ereshkigal seems to be another name for Tiamat. In either case, Ereshkigal is called the Queen of the Underworld, Queen of the Dead, and Queen of the Outside. She once imprisoned Inanna in the underworld, but was freed by Ea. She has many servants and even an army. As for the good gods, first we have Inanna, aka Columbia, Diana, Queen of Heaven, Mistress of the Gods, Venus, and Ishtar. Although Alhazred speaks of Inanna in a mostly positive light, her character attributes associate her with the whore of Babylon. Inanna is said to be the guardian of the third gate. It is said that she descended into the underworld and conquered its denizens. Once her gate is passed, you may use her abilities even while in other spheres. Anu is one of the Elder Lords who first went to war against the Old Ones and sealed them beyond the gates. He is also one of the first 3 Great Watchers, called the Father of Heaven. As stated earlier, Ea's name is chanted in almost all of the ritual incantations. He is, along with Anu and Enlil, among the 3 Great Elder Lords and the original Watchers. Ea is also known as Enki, and the father of Marduk, and handed down to humans the method by which to exorcise and banish demons. Anu, Ea, and another great watcher, Enlil, may be summoned and invoked in a fashion similar to the other demons. Marduk is the son of Enki, and reminds you of a chosen one. Marduk led the fight against the Ancient Ones and defeated Ereshkigal. Marduk is the guardian of the 6th gate, and, like Inanna, can be evoked to protect you against any antagonistic entity. But Alhazred warns that summoning Marduk is a great responsibility, and to do so flippantly may be dangerous, because the priest stands to offend Marduk. Marduk is responsible for sealing the magical contract with the demons by using Kingu's blood to form man. Marduk is said to have spawned a race of his own here on Earth. Shamash is the sun god, and guardian of the 4th gate. He, like the rest of the rulers of the spheres, has forged a covenant with man and can be invoked. And lastly, you have the Evil 7. Alhazred, like the Hebrew traditions, suggests that there are 7 main demons who act as workers of darkness in our world. They are neither male or female and are extremely inhumane. It is said that they stretch themselves out like chains and are ministers for Tiamat. They are referred to as the 7 Anunnaki, extremely powerful in magic, and incessantly make trouble for mankind. First and oldest of the races are the Elders, also called the Elder Lords, or the Elder Things. These beings precede the existence of the Old Ones. Then there's the Old Ones, referred to as the Ancient Ones or those from outside. These beings are demons to Christians, and jinn to Muslims. This race too, because of the blood of Kingu, is subject to the will of man, granted the proper sacrifice and ritual has been performed. The Old Ones were created and came to Earth long before the creation of man. During this time, the Necronomicon points out, they filled the Earth with corruption. They erected great cities at Earth's poles.
Once prevailed not against its might.
It is said that their very sight is a blasphemy to the senses, because they come from a crooked world where the shape of space is so warped that the very sight is painful to the eye.
But the sight of the Ancient Ones is a blasphemy to the ordinary senses of a man. For that come from a world that is not straight, but crooked, and their existence is of forms unnatural and painful to the eye and to the mind.
Today, the Old Ones still wait in the bottomless pit, waiting for a celestial event. This celestial event doesn't necessarily have to be one that happens in our heavens. Maybe, perhaps, this is one of merging, of imminent collision of our universe and another. The conflict between the Elder Lords and the Ancient Ones sounds precisely like the story of ancient Atlantis versus Lemuria. Both were nearly destroyed in the conflict, and the Elder Gods were quite weakened. The demons are constantly treading about, looking for open gates because they long entrance into our world. Alhazred claims that the dead can be summoned at almost any time, and unlike some of the stronger demons, may be willing to cooperate. Then there are the Maskins, worked its way into popular culture. The making of a wish after seeing a shooting star. Muslims say that when you see a shooting star, a jinn just got kicked out of the heavens and cast back to our earth. This is probably code for a streaking UFO. Everyone knows that genies grant wishes, so when you see a falling star, you've just seen a genie. So, you make a wish. Jinns, like the ancient ones from the Necronomicon, were created before mankind and filled the earth with corruption. Like the demons from the Necronomicon, they can be banished with incantations and made to do what is against their will. These beings can also survey the habitation of men without his knowing. And the Muslims also claim that there is a pact or contract between the jinn and mankind. Al-Hazred claims that some demons feed off human emotion like food, and can actually become...
It is of these same spawn of Yuggoth that it is said do carry the minds of wizards and other men unto Yuggoth, clad within amphoria of strange metal and design. With these minds thus preserved, they are thus able to make the trip across the gulf under the rim.
This seems to reference metal vehicles that can travel to other spheres without astral flight. He also speaks about machines that are used to converse with the abducted.
In a state of dreamless sleep do these minds wait, requiring no sustenance until awakened by the Migu, and through strange mechanizations, and thus given the power to converse of vision and of hearing, without the mortal body being intact, or that is, connected to the mind.
Here is depicted what appears to be a machine, because it doesn't resemble the magical symbols. This group was sent by the Elder Lords. It is a spirit being whose duty it is to watch over you, perhaps provided as a counterweight to the jinn and their influence, which is mainly detrimental. They, like the demons, demand sacrifice and ritual. Necronomicon claims that humans came extremely late in the game. Al-Hazred reiterates the incredible dangers that face humans from the world without. Al-Hazred also makes an interesting remark regarding the possible construction method of the pyramids. He speaks of a race of human beings who called themselves the Thul.
From the earth did the people of Muthul mine a strange ore which they did place in baskets made of lead. This ore did they place in great ovens to burn, and thus create the etheric energies that they used within their cities. With these energies did they bring light to lamps without oil or wick, and also did they use these energies to move the great stones of which they built their great cities.
And for those of you who have seen Hollywood Insider's Full Disclosure, you should know that Abdul Al-Hazred confirms for us the existence of vampires, and even the ancient Sumerians, who predate all the vampire legends of medieval Europe by thousands of years, had a word for vampire: Akakuru. Al-Hazred makes mention that these teachings have been forgotten by the bulk of man, and only the worshippers of the ancient ones still retain them. Today, we call this group the Illuminati, the Enlightened Ones, a collection of tightly woven secret societies with these teachings at their core. Al-Hazred says that places where one intends on doing a calling should be high in the mountains, and preferably near the ocean. The place should be remote, and the further from the nearest person, the better. The calling site should be clean. Any type of spirit may be summoned and detained until it answers your questions. The dead, the gods, and even the souls of the unborn may be summoned. He says that some spirits aren't worth conjuring, for they may not have the intellect, sanity, or power to do as you command. Al-Hazred warns that if you've done the ritual in accordance with its proper procedure, and the spirit or demon does not arrive, do not persist and finish the ritual quietly. If this is the case, it means that the spirit is presently attending another ritual, or is off doing work that he has been previously assigned to. It also mentioned that changing the ritual or symbols in the slightest may render them useless, or worse yet, create a broken gate to the outside.
There. See? The door. You left it wide open. And leaving the door open is the worst mistake any employee can make.
See the respective gate forming above the altar. He speaks of it as if it were a hole in space, formed by the ritual that you can physically hop into.
But in the air above the altar, whereupon thou wilt presently see the gate opening for thee, and the spirit messenger of the sphere greeting thee in a clear voice, and giving thee a name, which thou must remember, for that is the name of the passing of the gate, which thou must use each time thou passest thereby. The spirit messenger will meet thee, and, if thou not know thy name, he will forbid thee entrance, and thou wilt fall to earth immediately.
The Necronomicon states that these spirits and demons are generally adverse to light, and will avoid sun and moonlight. But on overcast nights, or moonless nights, these demons are unrestrained and move freely about. They would certainly be satisfied to see a sky that was forever cloudy. opening of gates to other planes of existence, is called the walking. In this, your physical body lies upon a dais, while your astral body takes flight to walk among the stars. During this time, you must assign your personal watcher to guard over your body. Basically, if either body dies while you're plugged into the Matrix, you're screwed. He also recommends to be completely vegetarian 7 days before you go on your astral constitutional. And 3 days before the ritual of the body trip, you should have nothing to eat at all, except juices. Having meat in one system may affect the experience, or maybe it's best to have absolutely nothing inside the guts of a body you're about to take a trip out of. Now many out there have seen countless celebrities doing this, the devil hand sign. This hand gesture is called the sign of Vor, and is one of the 4 signs used during a satanic ritual. The sign of Vor is used whenever someone wants to ask something of the old ones, and the old ones only. As you can see, 3 of these 4 signs have worked their way into popular culture. The second gesture is easily the most famous of all, and it's called the sign of Kish. The sign of Kish is used to break down the barriers and open a portal to the outside. The third sign is also rather familiar, a gesture made famous by Adolf Hitler. This gesture is called the gesture of Koth. It is used in a ritual to seal the gate or portal. I know, it's your turn to share with others what you know. Take care, keep learning, and thanks for watching.